I had this amazing conversation with this black professor of history a little while ago. He has this amazing story. He was a former district attorney who worked with, you know, people being accused of crimes, of especially usually of his racial origin, being black, Hispanic, those kinds of things. And he, defended them when other people couldn't defend them. And he worked with these people and he heard all of these stories. And he has this amazing story. He really, really has this amazing story about him helping all of these people before becoming a professor. Um, and it just makes a lot of our activism just pale in comparison. And he I asked him this question. I said, "Hey, professor, so what do you think right now about the way that college students are talking about privilege and oppression, about racial minorities in college, being and oppressed, victims of the system?" And he gives me this glance, and it's a confused glance for a little bit, and thinks about it, and then he says, Kenny, these are immensely privileged people already who come here, whether they're white, black, Hispanic, or anything, complaining about their lack of gaining more privilege, talking about how victimized they are, selfishly, and using that as elevation in social status so they can tell their friends they did social justice work before going off to the banking and consulting jobs that they're likely to take. And I was like, wow, that is a bombshell. That is a bombshell. And I think it relates a lot to, what Kanye West said this week, where he was talking this particular tweet, self-victimization is a disease. And I think he was talking directly towards his community, towards the black community in which he was raised, towards all of the young fans that he has who buy into this narrative that they are victims of a culture that oppresses them. And why did he say this? Why did he say this, right? Obviously, why did he say a lot of the things he said this week? But I think the mischaracterization of why he said this is because he's become some alt-right bigot. He's not some alt-right bigot. There's a lot of people who harbor his kinds of views. And they're not just big, alt-right bigots either. There's on the minority side, this is something that a lot of Asian people have believed, a lot of immigrants coming over here believe. In fact, when you come to America, in some ways you believe that you can make it. Even though you come here poor, even though you don't come here with any money, you believe that you can make it. You don't believe that you're a victim. I think he's trying to help his community, guys. I think when he's saying things like self-victimization is a disease, and he likes the way several of these prominent black conservative intellectuals think, and I will introduce him to Thomas Sowell. Someone give him a book on Thomas Sowell, and he will know. Thomas Sowell is a famous black Stanford economist who talks a lot about this kind of culture and talks a lot about intellectuals and race. And I read his book, Intellectuals and Race, and all of these people, economists, black economists, black pop stars, black professors, they care about their community. I cannot emphasize this enough. They care about their community, and this is why they're speaking out. This is why they're speaking out. It's not because they hate their own race. It's because they love their own race. And this is why I'm speaking out, because I care about the young, poor black people in poverty right now who don't believe they have a future because they've been told throughout their life that they don't have a future. I used to go door to door in this place called Smithville. It's this middle class, like working class black neighborhood that's near Davidson. We used to survey them, and they. The funny thing is when you go and you survey these communities, this neighborhood has a strong family structure, has been around for a very long time, very loving community. Nobody's rich in this community. They're all pretty working class. But when you ask them about the satisfaction of their life, they say, Kenny, I'm very satisfied with my life. I believe God's really blessed me with a great life, great family. They never talk about their victimization at all. I still get their emails. I go through their emails sometimes. They all talk about community building. They're all optimistic. They want to go to church. They want to take their kids to church. Their kids go out and work. They're working hard. they really believe in the American spirit, and this is the kind of spirit that I want to infuse, because there's so many communities out there, black, white, Hispanic, that when they have these kinds of strong values, they will thrive and they'll be satisfied with their life. The reason why black people are not satisfied with their lives in inner cities is, well, because of a lot of different things, and a lot of it is structural. You know, concentrated poverty is a real thing. Ghettoism is a real thing. Racial discrimination is a real thing, but it's not the pervading white supremacy kind of thing that invades everything, especially the academic leftist thought. But what's most damaging right now, what Kanye West, what Thomas Sowell, what my professor, what my friend, what a lot of my friends have said, who are racial minorities, have said, what's most damaging is victim culture. Is telling people, hey, you can't do it. You're just a product in this white supremacy system. You're always going to be in the lower tier, and someone's always going to be ahead of you. And I know, because what that does is that robs someone of their individual dignity, of their autonomy, of their ability to make choices to better their life. And that's just not the reality of the situation right now. If you have a strong community, if you have a strong family, you can overcome any kinds of racial disparities that you can think of. And I think that's what Kanye West is trying to say. Don't look at yourself as a victim. Look at yourself as someone who has potential, who has skills, and needs to put those skills to use. If you want to get out of poverty, I think of the time when, I went to this one church in the inner city, Richmond City area, and I passed out these lunches, and I took these kids to worship service, and they were 7, 8, 9 years old. And some of them come from broken families, some of them come from broken houses, some of them don't even have shoes. But what we do is we feed their body. These kids, these young, black, poor kids, we feed their body, but more important than that, we believed in feeding their soul. We wanted to inspire them. We wanted to show them that the gospel of Christ transcends all of their physical difficulties. And because of that gospel, they can go out and be motivated to live a better life, to make their community proud, to make this community proud. And I think we need more of that. We need more of that inspiration right now in the black community today. And this is why, I respect Kanye West's tweets. I respect Thomas Sowell's intellectual history of the black race. I respect my professor's, honestly, denouncement of the victim culture that plagues the academic left today. Because if we want to provide a better solution for our young, impoverished African American people, we must empower them with inspiration, not victimization. Thank you.